Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 21st, 2022 Forsyth County Board of Commissioners regular meeting public hearings. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order at 5 p.m.
Our next speaker is Jeff Tormey.
Hello, my name is Jeff Tormey. My address is 3165 Stonecrest Drive in Cumming, and I've been a resident of Forsyth County for about 24 years. So I'm here today again about the electronic voting machines and to ask you to remove the electronic voting machines in the upcoming election. And I wanted to specifically address that is possible. And in OCGA 21-2-334, it says voting by paper ballot when use of voting machines is impossible or impracticable. If a method of nomination or election for any candidate or office or of voting on any question is prescribed by law, in which the use of voting machines is not possible or practicable, or in case in any primary or election the number of candidates seeking nomination or nominated for any office renders the use of voting machines for such office, such as primary or election, impracticable, or for any other reason, at any primary election, the use of voting machines wholly or in part is not practicable, the superintendent may arrange to have the voting machines for such candidates or offices or for such questions conducted by paper ballots. In such cases, paper ballots shall be printed for such candidates, offices, or questions, and the primary or election shall be conducted by the poll officers, and the ballot shall be counted and return thereof, made in the manner required for by law for such nominations, offices, questions, insofar as paper ballots are used. So I've heard people say, well, we have to use the Dominion machines. It says that we have to use the Dominion machines, but really that is not the case. OCGA 21-2-366 says that the commissioners have a choice as to whether to use the machines or not. And 21-2-334 says if the machines are declared impracticable because of the source code, the internet connection, the possible vulnerabilities, or for any other reason, when the election will be run using paper ballots. So I wanted to focus on that part specifically. I know some other speakers are going to talk about some of the things like the vulnerabilities that have been proven by our own federal government. So that's the part that I wanted to address, so thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Tormey.
Our next speaker is Frank Schneider.
Good afternoon. I'm Frank Schneider at 5865 Camp Chase. Todd, we do love you. Following up on Jeff's comments, I'd like for you all to exercise your authority and eliminate all electronic voting systems in Forsyth County going forward. Right here in our own backyard, I think you may be aware that DeKalb County, in a number of its precincts, actually did a hand count vote after the election on May 24th. And I'm going to read to you the results of both the machine-generated count and the hand count, okay? First with the machines, this was District 2, County Commission primary. Marshall Orson came in first, 5,226 votes. Lauren Alexander second, 4,382 votes. Third place, Michelle Long Spears, 3,031 votes. Total votes cast, 12,639. After the hand count, Michelle Long Spears, 6,651 votes. That's 3,620 more votes than what the machines counted. She won. Second place, Lauren Alexander, 4,737 votes, an increase of 355 votes. And finally, Marshall Orson, the machine-generated winner, 3,928 votes, which was a decrease of 1,298 votes. He came in third place. The total number of votes, 15,449, which represents 2,810 more votes than what were reflected via the electronic voting systems. I think the facts speak for themselves here, and I hope that you do exercise your authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Next.
Our next speaker is Bill Quinn.
Good evening. Bill Quinn, 4770 Scotney Court. So we heard a few minutes ago about vulnerabilities. Let's talk a little bit more about that. During the time of the 2020 election, Christopher Krebs was director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA. You may recall that in the beginning of the movie 2000 Mules, Mr. Krebs says, the 2020 election was the most secure in U.S. history. He was also fired in November 2020. On June 3rd of this year, a month and a half ago, that same agency, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, on June 3rd issued a report detailing 9 separate vulnerabilities affecting the Dominion voting systems. Same systems used in this state, same systems used in this county. Those vulnerabilities can be used to exploit the device and insert malicious code. So for those who aren't computer geniuses, an exploit in the context of computers is a piece of software, a chunk of data, or a sequence of commands that takes advantage of a bug or vulnerability in the system to cause unintended or unanticipated behavior. CISA's own document, ST 18004, defines malicious code as unwanted files or programs that can cause harm to the computer or compromise data, in this case, votes. Was this the only problem during the election? Probably not. If you've seen the movie 2000 Mules, there's plenty of information there. In about 20 days, True the Vote will release all the information they have, and some of the information that's already been seen indicates that these mules were active all over Georgia, up into northern Georgia, and in fact have tracks that they've already released that come here into Forsyth County and into Cumming. When that data is released, I am confident that it will reach your desks. So one more thing, an interesting quote. When an election result is non-believed, when people think election results could have been tampered with, the people can lose faith in their government, and if they do, the consent of the governed is withdrawn. And we have failed the promise of the foundation of our country. Not my words. Those words come from the floor of the General Assembly in 2019 and are a direct quote by Democratic Senator Elena Parent. I would ask that you seriously consider getting rid of the machines, going to paper ballots, and going to hand counts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Greg Landon.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Greg Landon. I live at 1685 Archstone Drive, and I've been a resident of Forsyth County for 31 years. And I'm here also to talk about the electronic voting machines. I believe we do need to get away from these electronic voting machines and go to paper ballots and manual tabulation. There's many reasons, and you've heard some of them here tonight already, for doing away with these machines. But I would like to cover 2 aspects of this. The first one, according to Georgia 2020 Georgia Code Title 21, Elections Chapter 2, ballot marking machines can be used, and this is a quote, provided that such electronic ballot markers shall produce paper ballots which are marked with the elector's choice in a format that is readable to the elector. Now, we all know that the paper ballot that we get when we vote contains a QR code. That QR code is not readable by the elector. That QR code is what is used to tabulate the votes. Therefore, this machine and the process that it's using with these QR codes is a violation of Georgia law, and that should be done away with. Matter of fact, in October of 2020, Judge Amy Totenberg at the U.S. District Court of North Georgia declared in her opinion Georgia Dominion voting machines is in violation of Georgia law, pages 81 and 82, and it was for this very reason, because of the use of these QR codes. My second point is more about people's distrust of these machines. And like Bill was just mentioning, once you lose the trust of the people, you don't have the consent of the governed, and then we don't have a democracy. So in 2016, the Democrats cried foul when they lost the election. I think we all remember that. And there was actually a movie made about that called Kill Chain. If you've never seen it, it's definitely worth watching. In 2018, there was widespread criticism again at the results. And then in 2020, we heard the loudest cry of all as we all watched the election of 2020 stolen right before our eyes. With so much distrust in these machines, people are giving up hope that their vote really counts and that it matters at all. I've heard from many people that say they just don't even want to vote anymore because they don't trust these machines. For that reason alone, we should get rid of these machines altogether. And I would really appreciate your consideration on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Our next speaker is Betsy Jrgensen.
Thank you. Yeah, Betsy Jorgensen, 1713 Bald Ridge Marina Road. I've been a public servant in several capacities for nearly 40 years of my adult life. I'm a Forsyth County resident for over 20 years. My first election, I voted for Reagan. So I'm exercising my patriotic duty. I'm also sharing with you how odd it is and confusing it would be to listen to my voice after it was turned into a digital computer voice, like the many of the generic robotic voices. Do you know that those are computer generated in the same manner as the QR codes? So if I wasn't standing right here in front of you, you wouldn't even know who I am, because my voice would be computer generated. The same problem exists with our signatures, e-signatures. When you send an email out, there's an e-signature. So our voices have been turned into coded keystrokes. Our signatures have been turned into coded keystrokes. Now our voices have been. Our identities have been computer generated, and we are no longer human beings or citizens with a voice. I've been a photographer for nearly 50 years since I got my first single lens reflex. We use film. Now, the technology world has turned everything over upside down. The digital world took over. This has changed everything, because film was our canvas. It was ours and ours alone. We owned our own prints. Now with digital, it's nearly impossible to prove that we took the photos despite all the efforts taken by the digital author. Photoshop and post-editing alters the author's artist and original intent. This is the very same digital and tech world has done the very same to our voices and our vote. It has completely altered and digitized who we are and what we intend. I would even go as far to say that this is identity theft and violates the chain of custody of my vote. I'm going to return to my single lens film camera so I know that my photo is mine and mine to preserve as I designed it and created it to be. Likewise, I demand my voice and my vote be returned to me as well, without computer digitally transforming it into a generated code that I can't understand, comprehend. Therefore, please remove the Dominion machines and return our hard hand recount and paper ballots. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kimberly Jordan.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Jordan. I live at 3610 Polly's Bluff in Cumming, and I'm here to speak out against the voting machines. Shocker. We can't have a republic and enjoy our inherent liberties unless we're assured that our vote is true and pure. The Dominion machines are a large component of that. And so I ask, do the people believe that the Dominion machines effectively provide a level of assurance that the vote is valid and true? We all know that these machines weren't supposed to be connected to the internet, but they were. They've been proven to be easily hacked. We've already spoken tonight about the CISA vulnerabilities that were reported. There's already enough concern about election integrity, and by removing the machines and going back to hand-counted, hand-marked paper ballots, this is one of a few ways that we the people can have more confidence that our vote does count. And I'd like to speak to some recent statistics regarding voter confidence. In a Rasmussen report released on July 7th of this year, a national survey found that between 52 and 59% of likely U.S. voters, a clear majority, believe that cheating affected the outcome of the 2020 elections. 50% of these voters surveyed believe that widespread cheating will affect the outcome of the November 22 elections. 59% say that preventing cheating is more important than making it easier to vote. And 61% agree that election reform must happen in swing states like Georgia, where voters have lost confidence in their electoral process. Lastly, 90% think it's important to prevent cheating in elections. This survey represents the will of the people to make our elections more secure. The board has the authority to remove these machines. You have the authority to go back to hand-counted, hand-marked paper ballots, according to the codes that were referenced earlier by Jeff. Public officers are servants of the people that are all times amenable to them. It's your responsibility to us to remove these machines from our county. The machines are technically illegal, as per Georgia Code 21-2300 that was already stated. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm not fluent in barcode, and I personally did not feel confident in inserting my ballot into that scanner. I understand also that the Forsyth County Board of Elections was threatened by a lawyer that had served Hillary Clinton's campaign named Mark Elias, and they have cowered down and are doing absolutely nothing, and it disgusts me. Please don't allow yourself to be bullied or scared not to do what's right by the likes of the Mark Eliases of this world or even our own Secretary of State. Do the right thing. We respectfully demand the removal of these machines. And if this actually happens, I will get all of you a plaque as well. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John J.J. Jrgensen.
Good evening, commissioners and fellow residents of Forsyth County. Thank you for your service to our county. I reside at 1713 Bald Ridge Marina Road. As you can see, many of us are here unified as one to request the removal of Dominion machines from our county and revert back to the paper ballots. We like to think our county is by far one of the leaders in the 159 counties in our state. I would assume you do as well. So let's lead. As a Georgian since 1977 and a Forsyth County resident for over 22 years, I'm going to share my personal story as a poll watcher here during the 2020 election. I have a signed affidavit that I sent to the SOS, which directly relates to OCGA 21-2-334, which you've heard what the language is in that. If anything else, the follow-up is for any other reason, then the election will be run by using paper ballots. But during my time, as being a poll watcher, I experienced, we had 3 tabulation tables, and of which all 3, the tabulation monitors were being run by Dominion employees, not by our own county residents or our own county poll workers. Didn't understand that one. Following that, while you're not allowed to have a phone or anything in the room, nobody, I watched and witnessed, I believe his name was Baxter, after finishing counting a box, pull out his phone next to himself. I watched him scrolling through it and then grab a pad of paper and start writing things down. Couldn't see what it was. I wasn't allowed close enough to verify what that was. However, nobody should have their phone out on the floor. When I went on break, I called my more intelligent than I wife, told her what had happened, and she said, you know what? You might ought to check what kind of internet services are at our location. So I did a screenshot outside. This is just the first group of them. There were more. My second picture didn't come out. Prior to the 2020 election, Forsyth County hired an ex-Dominion employee to its permanent staff. This was also troubling to me. My story alone is enough to invoke 21-2-334, but I know there's so much more to add to mine. I'm proud to be a resident in a county that has been leading the way in Georgia. However, I'd be even more proud if national news headlines read, Forsyth County, Georgia bans Dominion voting machines. Thank you, and God bless America.
Our next speaker is Mike Lutzen.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here, and we do love you, and we're with you, and we walk together as Forsyth County citizens.
And Mike, just your name and address for the record.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Mike Latshaw, 2436 Ballantrae Circle.
Now you can tell us how much you love us.
I still love you. I still love you.
Thank you, sir.
And we're with you. And we thank you for your service, because what you do is not always easy, and you come under a lot of pressure when you have to make decisions. But we respect that. But I want to appeal, I'm speaking extemporaneously, to a higher level of liberty and sovereignty as a nation, because we're very close to losing that right now. We were guaranteed in Article 4, Section 4 of our United States Constitution the protection of the individual and the representation of the rights of the individual, not groups. And when our vote is insecure, stolen, corrupted, that violates everything in that Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. A quote from a communist nation here, and I think we're getting very close to that. And had our election been fair and transparent and an audit trail on it, we wouldn't be dealing with the issues we're dealing with today in America. We've got an invasion going on our southern border. And those who count the vote, those who vote decide nothing. Those who count the vote decide everything. And I think that applies to what happened in the 2020 election. And that's why many citizens today have no confidence in the Dominion voting system. So, and I'm not going to go back and refer to any of the data and the reference to OCGA in Georgia law, because you know that. But I hope that you'll make the right decision and eliminate these Dominion voting machines that we've been using in Forsyth County and lead the way. And let's start here in Forsyth County restoring sovereignty and freedom to our nation, because we're about to lose it. And we can do that together. And again, we do love you and we do support you, and we appreciate you making the right decision on this. God bless you.
Thank you.
This concludes our first public comment period. Our next speaker is John Sewell.
John Sewell, 445 Spruce Court. I just want to point out that I guess it's repetition a little bit, but there's a lot of people who don't believe that our voting system is trustworthy right now. And I know there are people who poo-poo that and say, even some respected people who say, no, it's perfectly fine. But even if they're right, the widespread perception that it's not good is very important. And so I hope that you will approve a change to get rid of the voting machines and go back to paper ballots filled out by the voter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sewell.